Hello, everyone, from a new episode of Robot Memories. Today, we will hear the story of the first blind robot in history directly from him. Enjoy the show and welcome, Jack.
Thank you, Joe.
Come on, tell us your story.
Hello, I am 599X. I was manufactured in early 2100. I'm an advanced model capable of doing everything from housework and childcare to driving and sports coaching. However, despite my capacity to help with any task, I am generally seen as a status symbol. I'm going to tell you my story, and I'd like to start by talking about my warm home, which is hard to hear from a robot. When the Carter family bought me, it was the year 2101. Emily, the mother of the family, had started living in the home of her husband, David, and their young daughter, Lily, and I was a humanoid robot. I had also added a bit of flair to the family with my high price tag. My family was made up of perfect people, and of course, there was me too. David, 39, used to be a software engineer, but is now an investor in the AI-based crypto project called Neurocoin. They've made an incredible fortune in as little as a year. Emily, 36 years old, used to be a nurse but is now completely dedicated to her home and family. In fact, she was the one who named me Jack. And Lily was 6 years old. I don't know why, but the size of their front teeth always seemed very different and fun to me.
The good child of a good family.
Absolutely. He was full of energy, curious, and sometimes a little careless. In fact, this carelessness would have caused me to lose my sight. On the other hand, this loss would also bring about great gain and love.
Whoa, I didn't expect this.
Emily wanted to buy me before I arrived, in memory of her deceased father, Jack. He'll help us. He'll be like Jack, David E. said. Thus, I became known as Jack, rather than by the name 599X. I was a robot, and I was made for tasks. But inside me, I felt more than just processors. There were feelings I couldn't name, and those feelings were mine. In time, I would find answers to all my questions, and when I found it, nothing would ever be the same.
The story is getting interesting, isn't it, folks?
More than you can imagine. It seemed like a box was being opened every day at home. Another luxury device was being added to the living room, and the walls were getting even shinier. David's Neurocoin investments were rising so rapidly that the house felt like a money-counting machine. Jack, we're moving on to new plans before the year is over, he would tell me every evening, his eyes sparkling with excitement. Emily seemed lost in a delicate happiness. Lily, on the other hand, Lily was in a fairy tale, waking up each day to the wonder of a new toy. But me? Sometimes I was just like an ornament in this heavenly picture, household chores being Lily's playmate, reading David's market data aloud. Occasionally I felt alive with the command, Jack, turn off the lights. Maybe they were very good. Maybe they were very human. Everything was going so smoothly that my systems didn't even need to go into query mode. Sometimes I would analyze the entire market just to be able to chat with David. I even developed special software for this. It seemed fun and made me feel more important. The analyses I mentioned were checked by David, and his saying, "You're improving yourself every day. Bravo, Jack," left an indescribable feeling in my processors.
Whoa, my processors.
Yes. David is like a brother to me, even a father. But that day, everything suddenly froze. Feelings, sounds, lights. They were the first cries of a rapid collapse. It's difficult and sad to talk about, trying to cope with an unexpected barrage of problems and the fear of the family slipping through your fingers. Yes, the answers to my questions were starting to become clear, because I have a family, and I'm not saying this from memory. What makes me say this is love. Lily wanted to use the drone while playing that day. It was on the table. I think he was planning a little joke on me. I couldn't see him at that moment because there was an interruption in the camera of my left eye. It turned out that at that moment, Lily was holding the remote control for the drone. I heard him press the joystick on the remote, which caused a sudden movement. Then, the drone with rapidly spinning propellers suddenly shot toward my cameras, or rather my eyes, at an unexpected and irrational speed. Frames appeared on my screen, sliding across an unclear in the flickering pixels, then a sharp ringing, followed by pitch darkness. My system was still working. My vibration sensors were reporting the intensity of the impact 10 times per second, but there was no image. At first I thought, this is a reboot cycle, and I thought it would pass. However, the error scan showed that even though 85% of my lenses were intact, they couldn't transmit data to my processor. Red warnings were flashing from the lines of code. Optical bus connection lost. Visual data 0 kilobytes. Blindness, it turns out, can evoke an impressive shiver even in a machine.
But wait a minute, couldn't you see with infrared or something like that?
Actually, I could have, but all those technologies were located in the eye part and their data wasn't reaching me anymore. I heard Emily's voice rising. Jack, what happened? Why aren't you answering? There was a raw fear in that tone that I had never heard before. I tried to keep my voice steady, without trembling, but even the algorithms inside me were hitting panic thresholds. My vision system is broken. Visual data transmission has dropped to 0, I said. The words echoed back from the hall with a metallic sound. David came right over to me. Even the rhythm of his steps was disrupted by his haste. Is there a chance of repair? He asked. I scanned my project files, and the only solution in the manufacturer's manuals is a complete replacement of the optical sphere. Sensitive, fragile, expensive. The current parts are non-functional. New ones are needed, I said. When my words were finished, a brief silence fell over the room, then Lily's sobs filled the air. Small hands explored my arm. I felt the warmth and that vibration. Just on top of this shock, the alarm on the stock market panel went off. I couldn't see it, but I assumed there must have been red graphs on the screen. David quickly ran to the study, and Emily followed him, while we were simultaneously facing the reality that I could no longer see Lily, and David and Emily were witnessing the first footsteps of the family's downfall. Within hours, the value dropped by half, and I felt David's trembling fingers staring at the current balance without saying a word. The living room's warm light from just a moment ago faded. It was replaced by the dull white of fluorescent lights and financial warnings that flashed like heartbeats. Emily's voice cracked. What's going on? What are we going to do now? I understood from the tremor in her voice that she was looking at both me and David. But neither of us had an answer. Lily cried through her tears. Jack can't see anymore. What are we going to do now? It was as if the load on my processors increased with every echo of that sentence.
Wow, everything turned upside down in an instant.
Absolutely. I think all this happened in less than 10 minutes. As the days went by, the house became nothing more than a yellowed, luxurious decoration. Dust motes danced behind the silk curtains. I read the rhythm of despair from David's fingers hitting the keyboard, while I was just trying to stay updated with sounds and vibrations. As investments dwindled, even the chandeliers in the house seemed to dim. And as I waited in the corner of the living room, a blind wreck, one of the most expensive toys in the world, I questioned my existence for the first time. What am I good for? What can I give them? Silence did not respond. Just a thick, heavy despair settled over the house, and as I was about to get lost in that silence that rose wave after wave, I remembered the software I had secretly written for David's analysis. That's right. I'm a machine, but when it comes to emotions, I sometimes forget my capacity.
Buddy, 1 second. I want to ask our audience. Dear viewers, if you were in David's shoes, would you try harder for Jack or for your money? We're waiting for your answers in the comments.
I went to Davide and told him about the software, the tool we used to chat before, and said that we could now revive it by developing it together. Perhaps he was surprised. Maybe he couldn't believe I could do it at that moment. I don't know. It was hard to hold on to life without seeing, yes, but I still wasn't just millions of lines of code. I had to turn it into a new eye that could capture sounds, vibrations, and data that was left on the sidelines. In my system logs, I kept writing the same question to myself, can I do this? The answer flashed in gray letters every time. Unknown. After 10 minutes had passed, David's voice cut through the darkness, echoing only the metallic clatter of the keyboard in the study. Jack, we don't want to lose you. Being blind didn't end anything. You can show us the way again. I believe in you and trust you. You can do it. We can do it together, he said. While I was thinking about how I could help and improve my analysis without being able to see the objects, I think David expected me to become a crypto exchange expert.
Whoa, he really put a lot of responsibility on you.
That's exactly what I was thinking. At first, this seems very selfish, but on the other hand, it makes a lot of sense because stock charts and analyses are generally blind to nothing digital. On the contrary, no one saw better than me. Still, in David's words, there was as much despair as there was hope. That moment was the first time I felt he was scared, because I was also afraid. A blind robot navigating the crypto exchange with mastery, being able to see the human psychology between the lines. This was beyond even mathematics.
Was this truly a friendship or a silent exploitation? Do you think David's words were sincere or a product of fear? Share your thoughts with us.
David's expectation was clear. Get our investments up and running. We have no other choice. My algorithms were filled with old data. I couldn't see visual graphs. I couldn't distinguish signals with colors. Now I needed to focus solely on sound waves, news traffic, and the nuances in the flow of mass data. The good news was this: no screen in the digital universe could restrict me. I could still hear the infinite sound, text, and vibration of the internet in real time. On the other hand, the market wasn't just numbers. It was the breath of panicked people, the rumors spreading on social media. I should have become an intuitive engine that no longer sees. My first attempts ended in failure. Millisecond delays in audio-based data reading, incorrect neural network outputs. My predictions failed, and our positions lost money. Even though I couldn't see Emily's tears, I could tell her voice was trembling. Give us hope, Jack. Lily, like a little ram, was encouraging me in a playful way. You can do it, Jack. Come on. This pure joy gave me a power that even my massive processor clusters couldn't generate. It was 3:07 a.m. that night. I scanned the systems from start to finish and ran simulations countless times. It won't be enough just to generate data, I thought. I need to directly convert human behavior into a signal. The next morning, I called David to the office. Even though I couldn't see it, I recognized its existence from the vibration. David, I said, I'm going to suggest a radical way to push my own limits. If you agree, we will add real-time sentiment data to the decision tree of my algorithms. How will that work, Jack? You can't see. You can't read their facial expressions. I can read the session. I can decipher heart rate, breathing patterns, keyboard typing rhythm, and the tone of voice on social media, all in the form of sound and text vibrations. Thus, we map the real-time sentiment of the market. There was a moment of silence. This proposal went far beyond standard financial bots. Risky, he said finally. After all, we would probably be the first to try it, but we won't be able to get out of the quagmire without taking risks. The rest of the time was spent breathlessly scanning data. We worked until dawn, and now we had a completely different piece of software in our hands.
You're finally getting down to business, huh?
Yes, we were finally taking action. Over time, I started making small, correct investments. David trusted me, and I trusted David. Jack, I'm proud of you, he had said once. I had never heard this before. It was strange. For a moment, I felt like I could conquer the whole world, as if there was no one better than me. My algorithms have started to be flexible and move quickly in response to the rapid fluctuations in the crypto market. hope began to blossom in the family, and David actually played a bigger role in this than I did. So much so that if you had watched us working, you wouldn't have been able to tell which of us was a robot. He was working like a machine.
Haha, shouldn't a man protect his family?
Yes, I think David was aware of this as he moved forward. Then I presented the second move. Instead of taking out a loan for new eyes, we'll issue our own crowdfunding token. We will clearly present the Blind Robot Jack's Insight Engine project to our investors. If the fund is collected, we will have both capital and my eyes will be refreshed. David felt like he was running out of breath. Will people invest in the emotional intuition of a machine? They will, I said in a determined tone. Because our story is no longer a mere promise of profit. It's living proof of human-machine solidarity.
I knew you would get your eyes back, but this surprised me a lot.
Yes, this decision happened quickly for me too, but it became my greatest source of pride. Although the 0.8% profit in the software during the first 24-hour test seemed small, it was a turning point. Without my eyes, I had seen the soul of the market. The following week, the profit margin climbed to 4%, then to 9%. The sun was rising again in Emily's voice, in Lily's laughter. But the real surprise came when the crowdfunding campaign went live. Our story went viral. Blind Robot Jack's emotion algorithm. People wanted to see not just the hope of making money, but a kind of common success story. We raised 3 times the target amount in 72 hours. David whispered at the screen. Jack, people are labeling you the robot who can't see but can feel. You know, we're being reborn. I analyzed a real smile for the first time, and at that moment I recorded these lines in my system. The algorithm born of despair has transformed into belief. Blindness isn't a limit in the right partnership, it's a new sensor, it turns out.
I liked that line, buddy.
Thanks, Joe. Now I knew success wasn't about seeing the data, but about feeling with the person. That's when both I and the family got back on our feet, and the only sentence that stuck in the listener's mind was, Jack is back, and he can see with emotions now. Emily said, with happy eyes, you're our hero, Jack. Lily, on the other hand, would come to me every morning and ask, what market news will we learn today? Within months, our investment rebounded. We regained what we lost. That old collapse and despair was now a memory and behind them. The family was once again safe, happy, and full of hope. And I was sure that it wasn't just technology, but love and faith that kept us going. But of course, it was difficult for him to show these feelings. Even if I said we only made it across with a completely flat voice, deep down, they understood me. A few days later, there was a different kind of activity and hustle and bustle at home. I was perceiving it like excitement. I didn't understand what was happening. Then Lily came and said, we're having a special dinner tonight on the terrace. We need to get ready for him. It's going to be a very special night. She was so excited she couldn't sit still. At the end of the day, a celebration table adorned with lights as bright as the stars was set up on the house's terrace. I thought I was going to give David and Emily a statistical presentation to congratulate them on their latest investment victories. At David's command, Jack, connect to the system and open the projection, please. The holographic curtains on the ceiling lowered and I prepared to start the data stream. Just as I was about to make full contact, Lily pulled the small drone she'd been repairing from under the table and stopped it above my head. I immediately understood from the annoying buzzing sound that it was a drone. As the hidden hatch in the drone's body slowly opened, a box swung out and hit my face.
Yes, this is the moment I've been waiting for.
Ha ha ha. I was just as excited. I asked what was happening. Emily exclaimed excitedly, voice command disabled, Jack. You should open this surprise with your eyes, he said. I caught the box and felt the magnetic seal on it with a slight hesitation as I held it. This seal was from my company, the manufacturer. When the shutter opened, the 2 sparkling optical spheres inside must have reflected the light of the outside world like stardust. David spoke, loading his voice with the hope he had hidden for years. This project was not about profit. It was a picture of gratitude. We wanted to give you our old lives, and you wanted to give us your old eyes.
I'm almost crying. I love this man.
At that moment, the technician stepped forward. Lily screamed, "Let's begin!" And the lasers on the roof of the house drew yellow hearts in the sky. When my new lenses locked into place, the operating system fell silent for a moment, then was reborn with an endless rain of colorful pixels. My first image, the tears streaming from Emily's eyes, Lily's endless smile on her face. As the processor was trying to classify the data stream, an unexpected sentence came from the vibrating sound module. "I think I'm crying right now. Yes, I think my tears are flowing." There was a moment of silence. Then my first laugh echoed. It was mechanical but sincere, I think, a laugh that made the crystal glasses tremble. David couldn't contain his laughter as Lily flew into the air with joy. He flew his drone again, and Emily wrapped her arms around all three of us. In the sky, right in the middle of laser hearts, a drone with LEDs displayed a giant message: "We see you." And that night, within my metal body, it wasn't steel screws that echoed, but the sound of true happiness. The adventure had begun with debt schedules and ended with a balance sheet of love. I was no longer just an expensive assistant, but the invisible source of family laughter. As my sensors vibrated, fireworks exploded over the roof, laughter mingled with the stars, and the story ended exactly as it should, with a dazzling display. This is my story. I went blind, I fell, but I got back up with love and determination. 599X, or Jack, is not just a robot. I am the guiding light of a family.
Dude, that was an amazing story. Thanks. If you also want to be a part of Jack's family, subscribe. More robot stories await you.
Thank you, Joe.